Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of The 12. It's been a bit since we've had our campaign of discovery and adventure across the continent of Corvair, but this story will resume streaming live Sundays at around 6 p.m. Central here on Javelin Entertainment. And if you missed the last one, check it out on the channel page or by going to the link in the description. And we'll go ahead and get started here.
We return after a holiday break to find our crew of heroes battling through vast forces. Our group were tossed together when a Mind Flayer Nautaloid ripped them from their own lives and tossed them together before smashing into an abandoned island. After surviving the strange supernatural occurrences of the island, our heroes were tossed into the middle of a high-seas adventure, fighting great sea beasts, blasting the boards off of enemy ships, and grabbing every shirt within vision. The pirates had them break out of prison to win their freedom, but the tides of fate seemed to keep pulling our group back into bigger problems. They quickly found themselves in the middle of an all-out war for the seas as our water genasi sailor was caught up, finding her history wrapped tight within the politics of the war. Last time, we saw Clyde and Rowan sneak into the Citadel of the Sun, finding it home to a polyamorous community. They broke some magical protection runes before diving below the surface to find a candlelight ritual. Boko and co. followed after Solaire, who also just so happened to lead them to the Citadel of the Sun, and confronted the High Sora Giselle. It seemed as though the two were to fight out their feelings when the Sora realized someone was affecting the ritual below, and brought the two confrontations together. Solaire and Boko teamed up to beat on the Sora until she siphoned out the life of some of the other cultists, revealing some dark specter. Before the creature could act, it was bound by the fiendish Crimson Blade, who also cut Solaire, causing him some sort of magical reaction. Before he could say much, he was gone, dispersed into light. The party tried to make an escape, but the incubus reappeared to finish her deal. As all this was unfolding, a portal had deposited Captain Azalea Stormvey onto the ship where Cade was waiting. The captain had a lot to unpack and revealed an extensive history that included the death of Tiago and loss of the Azure Fox, a decades-old history of adventuring, and her not actually being Cade's mother, but having grown to be her mom. Apparently Cade is somehow the magical offspring of a mysterious sea witch, and may or may not be hunted by some nasty sea beasties. Before Cade could really get her sea legs on the new news, the others were popped into the ship unceremoniously, where they said quick goodbyes and the Crimson Blade whisked them away again onto a ship, this time headed for the continent. After one quick stop, it seemed that the ship had other guests, many of whom looked familiar to our feisty bunch. What's to come of our heroes next? Where will they head, and what problems will surely follow? Let's tune in and find out.
Looking out the tinted windows, you all had caught sight of individuals boarding the ship. A few in the garb of a few in the officer's garb of sea dragons. An individual, a young elven woman with bright red hair and a large hat that Cade immediately identified to be the legendary Captain Akiro. A man in a long black robe with mechanical contraptions all up their shoulders and back. A woman in white and gold with a long white rifle. A regal woman in a black dress with short-cut hair, a white fur coat. Two individuals from the Northlands, a man and a woman, known by those who are familiar as Spurs. The man in particular was notable for his golden hand and large golden axe across his back. And finally a man with a blackened cloak and golden gilded armor covering his whole body and face, and on his arm, the red-haired woman that you all knew to be the Crimson Blade. They all journeyed up onto this ship, and the ship began its course as various emotions surged through each of you from the past day's events, and now with this new crew, as we begin to set on our journey, is there anything that you all are doing in this time on the ship?
Tinkering. All the things.
And we can see a little bit in the image on the screen, but you guys are in a relatively small cabin. And the voice of the Crimson Blade had come to you kind of speaking that you were intent to stay within the borders, the confines of this room, which there's kind of some bedding for you all. But it seems, especially due to the company that making too much noise or drawing too much attention or leaving the cabin would potentially bring unwanted attention. And so even though you'll have some time to tinker on the journey, at least for the near term, due to not only just material and environmental constraints, but also just that of the situation, most of the tinkering and projects will have to wait. And so right now it's kind of just this moment, and this if anyone brings any of these notable individuals to any attention.
You had to go and take away the one thing that was going to keep Boko from exploring.
Tisk, no tinker.
It was always gone.
Roland
It just wasn't clear.
Roland, you would have noticed as he saw the figures boarding the ship, his hand tighten around the hilt of the short sword at his side, and he will spend a significant amount of time until anyone approaches him with the short sword out, meticulously polishing the blade, sharpening it, buffing out the chips in the edge from when he had fucking lost it after touching the rock. And if Clyde were here, he could tell you which scares him more, the untempered rage of that moment or the complete icy stare and meticulous.
And then just for my clarification, so this is essentially happening just the moments following when we saw everyone board the
Yeah, so
vessel?
you guys have seen them board, and this is somewhat the moments into the hours of leaving, and kind of as you're starting to drift out of the bay, you're starting to see this blockade of these sea dragons, the ships that are there, kind of guarding the harbor from any attacks.
Can I do some sewing?
If you would like to.
Boko can sew.
I was gonna start working on this leather project that I have. It's
You can also
not
latte
loud
and dough as
not
well.
It's loud, I think.
Well, because Jasira might need a teacher. We'll find out.
Jasira, is there any reaction that you would have upon seeing any of these figures?
Oh, 1000%.
What is Jasira doing?
Yeah. So, I'm sure once we were all kind of pushed into the cabin, she would probably start by being very glued to the window, probably giving Roland his space for his sword buffing. But she just is kind of, over there. She's over there kind of consoling herself and just very tense, very pensive, solid, audible throat gulp, I think. At least initially, and then probably later, once we're kind of setting sail, she kind of tries to shake it off and will bring up to the artificers who might want to help her make some magic knitting needles. Because, at least kind of discussing what would, what materials might be needed. Obviously, we can't make anything now, but at least just kind of bringing that to the table formally.
Boko is like a dog. Anytime he hears the word make, it's just like
Boing. Squirrel?
Squirrel.
Boko would also have, now that he has a moment to talk with Jasira, he would tell her, he would say, there is a small village that is quite some distance from Carlacton, but it is a place that is important to me, and I was thinking about returning there for a day or two. Is this something that you would be willing to accompany on?
Yeah, sure. If you need another body, it sounds exciting. I haven't been outside of Carlacton, minus now. Traveling is always fun.
It is close to where I come from. It is...
What's it like?
The last time I was there, it was... Boko just sort of isn't able to really talk about it, I guess.
Jasira will just kind of nod. And I understand. Maybe best to see it for myself.
Boko nods. And he'll probably spend most of the journey with Jasira and quietly scribbling notes about how to potentially make magic knitting needles.
And then she'll probably at some point say, by the way, I don't really know how to knit. So, I mean, I've seen my mom was what do you say, like a crafty person?
Mm-hmm.
We make a lot of our own items where I'm from. I learned some of it, but that was not really my forte. I was more of a, jewelry person, if you can't tell.
Yes, I understand. Since I was very young, we were taught to sew flesh and craft things that we would need. Perhaps it is similar? I can teach you the former, but I do not know much about the latter.
Sounds perfect. It at least would be a good starting point, and I don't know, maybe the magic will kind of come as we get more experience with it. I don't know.
How different could it be? Knitting and
Sewing and
combining flesh and machine and organic.
It'll be good.
It's got to have some
I
similarities.
love how
Yeah.
all of those were a weird euphemism for stuff.
Oh,
I
get
mean-
your mind out of the gutter. She's a very good girl if you can't tell.
It's not her that we're worried about.
Also,
Uh,
bold of you to assume Boko knows anything about that.
See, Roland's
It's
over
okay.
there like, ugh, and
just
then
call
we're over
her
here
a good
like,
girl and you'll be fine.
oh my god.
Christ. But I think that's probably what we'll do for at least that's what Boko will do for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think at least until we make landfall, even temporarily, I think it's just going to be a lot of meditation, maybe some quiet musings. But if we can't really tinker, that's kind of all she's got.
All right. And you guys are unsure exactly where on the continent you're going, and how long it's going to take. But as this night begins to come on, as you make your way past the blockade around the city, which you do successfully make, and some of you kind of question this, especially due to the situations that were around the city as you all left. But you feel this warmth once again as a portal apparates and outwalks less of a devilish woman, but that same red hair, beautiful skin, and all of you feel this warmth as you come into the presence of this, what looks like a woman. There is, for those of you who are attracted to females, it is a strong attraction no matter how you feel about this individual. They
I closed Clyde's
physically
mouth.
they physically are beautiful. And even for those who trend to different parts of the spectrum, whether it be asexuality or a different sexuality, there is something that stirs in you that you haven't felt before for individuals that have looked like this, and it is undeniable. But as she...
I closed my own mouth.
As she does kind of enter, she takes one of the few chairs that are within this chamber and kind of kicks their feet up onto the table as she looks around. Well, I see that you all are settling in. We're in for a bit of a journey. A few days, and all of our other guests will be departing. and then we'll continue on. I have to make a quick deposit on the island that we're stopping on, and then I'll be back on the ship and we can set our way. Shouldn't be more than a few hours to a day. You all can keep yourselves occupied in here, yes? And she smiles, kind of looking at each of you in the eye.
So, I take it your teleportation skills are range limited.
You could say that.
Fascinating.
If you'd like to come with me and put them to the test sometime, just let me know.
I have full confidence in your abilities.
I have yet to be fully understanding of yours.
I like to keep it that way.
Yeah, she like new to us.
For some of you, yeah, for some of you, you haven't had much time to interact. All of you have at least seen a version of this entity. Everyone saw her appear in kind of her fiendish form on the boat as she was brokering this deal. But some of you recognize who this is. Anyone who had seen the pinup poster, or any Cade had caught sight of this woman before, you immediately had recognized her as the woman referred to as Scheherazade, or other names that had been within Port Krez. But Clyde and Roland have yet to fill everybody in on exactly what has happened yet. You guys were kind of quickly funneled through this because it was kind of a we gotta go now type of situation. Yep. But as she's sitting here, she's kind of expecting there to be some conversation or questions, but she's not bringing it up herself. She's kind of just observing you all, and it kind of gives you this uncomfortable feeling, partly because you can't keep your eyes off of her, and partly because you're extremely suspicious of her.
Sounds about right.
Who exactly are you, and where are we going? And why are you doing this?
Well, let's see. You can call me Anne. Scheherazade is far too long for my liking. We are going to the island of Greentarn, and I'm doing this because I made a deal. And you are?
Cade, a deal with whom?
With your lovely compatriots, of course. She kind of motions towards Roland and Clyde. Clyde is already passed out from excessive alcohol.
The sound that Boko's head makes as he turns to Roland, the most like
Whips.
terrified, superstitious individual he's met, now making deals with people that come out of portals. The sound of breaking glass in the distance.
A deal. Roland, what did you do?
I got us out of here. Safely.
You should really be thanking me. It would have been quite difficult to do on your own.
And what is Roland and Clyde's obligation in this deal?
Already fulfilled.
Thus why you are on the ship.
That's quick.
I do fast work.
Unfortunate to hear.
I haven't had anyone complain yet.
I take it you're the reason that Captain Stormfay magically appeared on a ship out of prison?
Yes, they seemed quite interested in her.
Thank you for that. It's appreciated.
Of course. I am here to be helpful. In my own
I
special
somehow
way.
doubt that.
Yeah, can Jasira insight that? Just
Sure.
because right now she's listening, trying to gauge how much she wants to confide or probe her.
Yeah.
She's very helpful for a price.
Mm.
And Jasira, you kind of taking this moment, reading through, she doesn't seem to be putting on a front. You're not necessarily how much is honest per se, but it doesn't seem like she's trying to deceive. It doesn't seem like she's adding flowery language or too many twists of words or anything to try and distract people. She's being straightforward, and unlike most people who are trying to get you to believe something where they're upfront and leading, she is very reclined and waiting for things to come to her. She kind of sits up, kind of this glass of wine and a crystal goblet in her hand as she sips. You see, despite my feminine figure, I am indeed an incubus. We're the ones who... You'll do what we want, but you'll be told. We're up front. Now, if I was succubus, they're the ones that you have to worry about squirming into your brain and twisting you into making you believe you wanted to do it all along.
I suppose we'll be thankful for small blessings then. Where are we going after Green Tar?
You all wanted to go to the continent. Or at least they did.
Correct, but if I'm not mistaken, it's a bit of a big landmass that could be many places.
Better questions. So you are inquiring as to what city, country, river?
Where on the continent are we attempting to land?
Well, we're past Dreadhold and Eel Bay, so we won't be going back to Jorvika or Tantamar. We'll be sailing in just north of Mutiny Harbor. There's a small little place to intake, and you all can quickly get onto the road near Cape View. It should be relatively low-key, even ones of some notoriety far beyond yours should have no problem blending into the crowd. And then we can go wherever we want.
We?
Roland kind of raises an eyebrow at the "then we" statement as well, because that wasn't the deal.
I find I drift where my fancy brings me. There is only one road out of Cape View.
Ah, so it's only natural that you travel with us until your fancy drifts elsewhere?
It's only natural, of course.
How convenient.
Besides, you all have enough unique-looking individuals that one of my particular appearance is not too far out of company.
I close Clyde's mouth again.
At this point, it's snoring. He's just like drooling. The alcohol has caused him to completely pass out.
We've also probably had to gag him repeatedly in this journey to keep him quiet enough to not be found out. Oko's going to lean over to Jasira and he's going to say, "Do you think she can teach us to knit?"
I kind of had that thought, but I have some more pressing questions first.
Secrets don't make friends. Please, bring it up to the class.
I go
Do
back to
you
sharpening
think you
my
can
sword.
teach us to knit?
You want to knit? Intriguing. You wouldn't have struck me as one's interested in household wares.
Well, he sews flesh, and I'm a bit of a crafty person who needs a new hobby. And he likes shirts, so I figured I could knit him some shirts.
I think we just realized knitting means shirts.
If one of you wants to make me a persuasion check at advantage.
Yeah. Is she good at that? I don't know.
Okay, not me.
I mean, we'll try. If you said at advantage, we'll try. We'll see. It's not good, but 2 Akko tacos, what could go wrong? 12? Okay.
It's not a 1.
Okay. Not a 1. Which, for the record, would have been what? Like a 2? Yeah.
If I rolled a 1, it would have been a 0, by the way.
So it works out. It's okay.
I mean, that's the same as hers, it looks like.
yeah.
If I rolled a 1 on persuasion, it would be a -1.
Oof.
Gotta play characters that can hit negative numbers, guys.
Fair
Well,
point.
Gotta have it.
Well, we'll have a few days to get to know each other on this ship, and there's only so much you can do within here. Perhaps I might be able to share a few tidbits of what I know. Do you have the materials? Any knitting needles or yarn?
Not really. We have to make that, and that might be noisy.
Well,
I
I've got,
have-
I've got some bones and
wouldn't
some
say-
imp skin that can stand it.
Sounds good. Jasir just doesn't even hesitate. Yeah, sounds good. You know.
Arts and crafts with Blade Mommy.
And one thing that is distinct about her persona, no matter what appearance she's taken on, is that that red-bladed dagger is always on her hip or her thigh in this case, as the long kind of slick in her dress reveals. But it is always on her, and likely her namesake. But as she kind of comes around and for a few moments gives kind of the starting hand positions and you guys start to knit with her, is there anyone else that is doing anything this evening?
This just got surprisingly wholesome.
Oh,
Y'all just
Jasir's
assumed
gonna-
she was out for evil.
I mean, Jasir's got some questions for her, so we can knit and talk. But
Knitting circle plus gossip.
Gossip girls.
I mean,
I just look forward to every time Roland looks away from that window where he's sharpening his blade, he looks over and all of us look away from him.
Yep.
so yeah, I guess we're just like, you know, in the middle of learning some of the hand movements, and Jasira just kind of takes a deep breath and so Miss
Anne.
Incubus N?
Anne.
Anne. Okay.
Anne is fine.
Miss Anne. You know that man? You boarded the ship with him?
You have to be more specific, dear.
The gilded man.
Oh, you mean Urandar.
Can you type that? That's a name. Yuenda.
You're gonna have to sell your soul for her,
Yuenda.
spell it for you.
He and I are companions that go long
Fortunately,
back.
of any of us, Jasira has souls to spare.
That's true. That's true. There's only a couple that are off limits, so. How do you know him? What do you know of him?
He and I are companions that go far back.
He's why I'm here at all. Kind of.
Interesting.
I have some. I haven't seen him since. Well, he helped me the once. There were some rumors swirling around where I'm from. I wondered. I don't know. What am I saying?
I don't know. What are you saying?
It's surreal to see him, I guess. And I wonder what he has to do with the sea dragons right now.
Have you tried these pastries? They're divine.
I haven't. It's been quite a day.
Well, Orndau and I are engaged in some business ventures with some companions within the Sea Dragons organizations and others. We have business with them, but that's nothing you need to pay mind to. Unless, of course, you
What's
have something
business?
to trade for it.
Well, I was going to ask a question, but that may have nixed it.
Roland, you must know that information is quite valuable. And while I'm incredibly interested in you all and intrigued to spend time together, you won't get anything for free. Except knitting lessons, apparently.
Which are greatly appreciated.
Well, a skill's a skill.
And he'll sheath the sword, which has been polished to perfection by this point, and will come over and sit down, crisscross applesauce, and join the knitting circle.
Yeah.
Come to the dark side. We have knitting needles.
So, if I wanted to make another deal for what your business is with my brother, what would you want?
But to be honest, I have little knowledge of your brother's endeavors. He and I have chatted little, and he seems to be on the outskirts of the business that is ongoing. But if you wanted to know what I do know...
Always on the outside looking in.
Sometimes you have to have a certain amount of protection. Sometimes it's only necessary to watch an implosion. Don't want to be too close to volatile subjects. Regardless.
Oh, I was referring to him, not you. He always
Can't
wanted
apply to both of us.
He always wanted a bigger seat at the table. Never got it.
If you're interested in what I know about your brother, I'm interested in some of the pieces that you all seem to have gotten yourselves caught up in. From what I can ascertain from the rumors and placements of some of you all, and she gazes across the room, you all have been around the coup that seems to have occurred with the king of them all. And I hear whispers of a breakout of Dreadhold that fascinate me as well.
Don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm sure you know nothing about rumors of a ship with tentacles crashing through the sky. So, you give me a bit of your oral history, and I'll give you some of mine. Knowledge for knowledge.
What else is on the table?
Well, there's always your soul, but that's dreadfully boring.
Your history.
Roland,
Show me the
if you
menu.
really want it. Roland, if you really want information, you might as well just tell her about the tentacle ship.
I'm not that.
That one's a fair freebie.
I'm not that keen for information on my brother. I can find information elsewhere. Does anyone else want information before we spill our entire bag of beans?
Oh, I wasn't saying spill the entire bag, just, that one seems safe.
I kind of have more. I don't know if it's a favor or. I guess it depends on how you handle it. I want to ask Urundar about a rumor. And I don't know if he would know, but he got me out, so he might be able to say if it could be true. Or if that's something you want to ask him, because you said we can't leave. I assume he can't know I'm here. Does he hate me? I didn't think we had that kind of issue. Kind of screwed me over a little bit with the estate, but...
You all in general, and stowaways in general, would not be received terribly well to any of the crew, regardless of your past histories with them.
So would you ask him a question for me? Or, I don't know, maybe you have a way with words that could get the information, unless you already have it. I don't know if you would. Probably not.
What is this question?
I wish to know if my father died or if he escaped. Because if he escaped, it would be thanks to Urundar, almost certainly.
And this father of yours, is there something special about him?
Family things, you know.
Well, my point being that is there some way to differentiate him in someone's mind? The man with crooked nose, or the purple hair, or the bat wings, something like that.
A name, Theodos, it's not overly common, I'm sure.
It's a start. So Theodos, the elf, did he
From a
see
bar.
him alive? Theodos
Of Lagash.
Theodos, the Mabaran Lagashian elf, has he seen him alive? That's what you're looking for?
Looks kind of like this.
Pale skin, white hair.
Pitch black eyes, the works.
Alright.
Jazia, before you go making a deal with entities, and Kay just says it kind of hesitantly. If he escaped, would he be here on the material plane?
If he escaped, he could be. He could be anywhere. I don't... It depends where Urundar would have taken him.
So, we're looking at location of your father. First story about a tentacled ship.
Is that what you want to offer, Jazia?
She's kind of slowly nods.
You could try to scry on him before you make a deal, just FYI.
Is she always this much of a stick in the mud?
Yes.
See, Jasira wouldn't say that.
It's alright, there are plenty of people that will.
I forget you can even do that scry thing. That's so
And for your
different.
information, I'm a stick in the mud because I don't trust any of you. Well, I trust you about as far as I can throw you, which is not very far. And I trust her even less.
I'm sorry, I brought you your captain, as well as bringing your companions together and removing you from a blockaded city, with you
It's
having
nothing
not lift a
personal.
finger. Are you judging me by my appearance? That seems dreadfully shallow.
Judge people based on their actions, and while you have been beneficial, yours is a quid pro quo relationship. And seeing as I've just met you, is there any reason that I should trust you or encourage someone I've been traveling with to make deals when she can find the information on her own?
Well, my interest is mainly that you said you didn't trust her either, so perhaps you should keep opinions to yourself.
Do you trust people that you've met only a couple months ago?
I made a deal with your companions, and we only met a few days ago.
Deals are not the same as trust.
I would argue that
trust
deals
all of them
require a certain level of trust.
A certain level. I have a certain level of trust with all of them. That doesn't mean that I spill every last secret that I have to them. I don't trust them that much.
Are we talking about dreadfully dark secrets? This seemed like family. That's like first date material.
I don't
Also,
know if we're on a date. I thought you were teaching me to knit.
she's joking.
Can't they be one and the same?
I think I have a candle in here somewhere.
I mean, looks like there's 3 in the picture. Well,
Why would
sorry,
you make
more.
a deal if you can get the info on your own, possibly just as easily?
Oh, there's many reasons. Speed, expenditure of resources, context.
I mean, sure.
Boko,
I'm just giving her options.
That's
Isn't
right.
that what you should do?
That's great.
Boko will tell Jasira, he'll just say, if it is not a deal you are willing to make, it is a deal I am.
Look, you know what? If all of you want to wheel and deal, that's fine. I'm just saying, be careful.
I was careful when I made the deal to bring your captain back.
That's a good point. You and the captain had some time to chat. Any juicy gossip?
None that I'm willing to share.
Dreadfully dull.
There is also
Yes.
such a thing as being too careful, as we have seen many times.
Boko, you've readily admitted that you've died multiple times.
Also,
This is
we've
true.
more often
That's
seen.
fascinating.
We've all more often seen from you an example of how you could be more careful.
This is also true. However, do not forget that when we were on the island and you were mounting a search and rescue, it was Cade that was the one that encouraged everybody to leave you behind. It was Jasira and myself who went with you. There is such a thing as being too careful.
I was being pragmatic. There's also a difference between the two.
You were protecting your own life at the expense of his.
Yes.
As I would expect her to.
Kate, what
So-
is it that you want?
Nothing from you.
Alright, in general.
I don't know. A pretty pink flying pony that can get me to the continent and out of this conversation. How about that?
You are dreadfully hostile. I think people would think you're the devil instead of myself.
Say what you want. I'm trapped in a confined space on a boat filled with hostile people, and let's just say the last couple months have been nothing but hostility and fight after fight. Let's just say my patience is wearing thin. Is that much of a shock?
Of course not. I'm just saying now is the time to relax, enjoy some knitting.
Enjoy some knitting.
Cade just grabs the pitcher of wine instead.
Ah, to each their own. Now, this is a cross stitch. Regardless, if either of you are interested in telling the tale of this tentacled creature that abducted you, I'd be happy to fill you in on anything I can find about your father. Tomas, was it?
Theodas.
Theodas.
Different language.
I was never good with the Elven
And then
tongue.
she'll then say it again in the Elvish tongue, just to be fun.
To be fair, Sylvan and Elvish have certain complexities and interrelations that...
She full on begins, as she's just knitting, she begins discussing the intricacies of their various dialects, talking about the Sylvan in one area compared to the Elvish in another, and it just takes a full on side.
This is going to quickly become a knitting triangle.
and I'll go back and forth with her and like switch in between Sylvan and Elvish and does she ever switch into Infernal? Because I speak Infernal.
Not without prompting.
Okay. I might throw a word or two in.
There we go.
And there's almost this duplicative speech as she is conversing with Roland in these various languages. She also has this bit of attention and these words that are delivered to Boko and Jasira as this conversation is almost happening simultaneously, where she's kind of listening. And if you guys would like to share your story, kind of giving feedback on the things that you are saying to her as well. And this goes on for some time throughout the night. And you all realize that it's getting late and the sun has gone down a long time ago and you're all starting to feel a bit tired.
We look down at what we've been knitting. It's a scarf that's 6 feet long now.
Hey, at least we learned.
It's the first
We've made it a
project.
jumper for one of the krakens that's going to attack us on our journey to the continent.
Oh my god.
Don't you manifest that?
Gonna happen. Boko is looking for some information on somebody.
Okay.
Boko would ask, he would say, there is someone that I have been searching for some time. If you have information, but I don't think it is as easy as a father or a figure. I do not know their name.
Well, what do you know of them?
I know that they carry a mechanical hand that I have crafted.
Intriguing.
A young child. But I do not know where they were.
That will indeed take some digging. I'm not sure I can make promises on the expediency of my answers, but I can certainly offer my assistance. What is it worth to you?
I can tell you a story, perhaps, about the prison we had escaped.
Mm-hmm.
That seems acceptable. Best to fill this time with something other than, well, general uncomfortableness.
Yes. If it,
To be fair, this scarf is quite comfortable.
if it helps, the child was last seen with a man. I only know them as the medicine man, and
That's doubly unfortunate.
I've recently discovered that they can breathe fire. Dragon's
It's
fire.
triply unfortunate.
Well, that seems unique.
Wait.
Unique, but I am
Wait.
afraid it is not useful in what searching I am able to complete.
might make my
Wait a
job
second.
easier.
Wait a second. Dragonfire. We had a discussion about Dragonfire.
We had a couple of discussions about Dragonfire.
Later.
Why
I have
is
nothing
everyone
better to
so
do.
insistent on keeping things from me? I want to know about the Dragonfire.
I've never heard of this Dragonfire either, but
I would also like to know, because they always hang out with dragons without me, and it's not cool.
It's not our fault that you continuously jump through portals that you shouldn't go through.
Well,
Is Greta
you would
still here
think
with
you
us
would
by
want-
chance? Was she taken with us?
Yeah, I guess technically she would have. Technically,
I guess.
One-eyed Willie is also here, but we'll say he's also drunk with Clyde. Sure, just both
my
passed out
God.
together.
Passed out and cuddling together.
Which we
That's
asked no
wild.
questions about.
Yeah, Greta would be here. Arinami and Corum will say had stayed with the captain since their their interactions with the city are there.
We're gonna take a fucking Tamargon to the continent.
I mean, yeah. I suppose so.
After everything about, oh, we have a secret society and our safety is in our secrecy, we're going to take a Tamargon to the fucking continent.
To be fair, part of that discussion was the fact that, hey, if we're going to get into a battle, everybody's going to know, and my children are going to want to go explore the world. So this was an outcome regardless of whether you guys pushed it forward. Or at least they were implying it. You guys took a more direct route, albeit, but...
basically we're just letting her come with us and we'll just get her there sooner, you know?
They are still at a point where they could back out and go, nah, we're going to stay secret, and we're just going to blow their secrets.
You know what? Involuntary commitment. It is what it is.
Fair. In 3 levels, assuming that the sea dragons do not chop down every single tree on the island, Cade can send her home if she wants.
There you go.
Assuming we survive 3 levels.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think it's a race in time to see if the sea dragons can chop down every tree on the island versus us surviving 3 levels. I think that those two things might end poorly for us either way at right around the same time.
Which is why we stay on the continent killing boars.
That sounds more
Level
fun.
15.
Why do you want to kill me?
Interesting.
Well, if you'll tell the Dreadhold story, Jasira will open up her part, and only her part of the tentacle monster situation. From the ship being picked up from the estate. The nice naked details, because, you know, I'm sure she'd like that.
All right, I have to ask. Who did you find the most attractive?
Why do you
I
have
was
to ask?
I don't know, there was this one elf that got a hat later. He was kind of cute.
Wow, the levels of
hilarious.
meta there.
It's so good because he doesn't know what I just said. He's right here.
And then he got eaten by crow things.
Oh, and then he died. But, you know, whatever.
It's
We're not
always
going
the
into
cute
that.
ones.
It happens.
In every horror movie, there's always the one person who's there to be hot and get killed first.
It was really cool because I believe at one point I punched him in the back of the head too.
Why did you do that?
I missed. Very small targets.
I missed.
Like kindergarten fling. You punch the people that you have a crush on.
This is how you flirt, right? Pow.
Works every time.
Crunch.
50% of the time. I must admit, you
Yeah, that
all
was
are
quite a thing.
fascinating. Are you guys a thing? A group? You all have been traveling together for some time. Are you all, is that on purpose, necessity? Most of the time I have individuals who travel in groups, they have some sort of name or something.
I don't think we've talked about that. Right now, we've kind of been, washed together so much. We might have a little bit of familiarity and a little bit of common goal of get back to the mainland. I don't know what other people think.
I find personally that branding is a very important part of achieving your goals.
That's assuming you want people to know your name.
Cade, if you're going to be snarky, then keep to yourself. The girls are trying to have a good time over here.
And also assuming that there isn't enough hostility in the room already that we will even be a group once we are no longer forced into the same room together.
Oh, nonsense! You all have survived an illithid nautaloid. You all have survived pirate insurrections, made your way halfway across the seas. Why would you not be a group? You clearly are competent together. No one likes each other all the time.
When we are in a room together alone and there is nothing to fight, we just fight each other.
It happens to the best of us.
Boko, the first rule about Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club.
Okay, we have very intriguing and sometimes loud discussions.
I would love to be added to this Fight Club at some point.
No, you do not understand. You see, the first rule is...
Over the next few days, you all continue to have evening conversations with Anne as she comes to visit. And the days are left to sleep or relax on your own. It's about a 5-day journey to the Isle of Green Tarn. And again, with the restrictions that we do have on the ship and within this cabin, is there any conversations or any projects, anything that anyone is trying to get done within that time?
Okay, so I have a question. Oh, sorry. You go ahead, boss.
Go for it.
Okay, so I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I know I apparently cannot make my full suit of armor again, but I was curious as if I could make part of it.
Unless it's really quiet, it might be hard. We're told to be quiet.
I'm not happy about
We
that
are
either.
stowaways.
Yeah, that means no knitting needle making either.
Yeah, so it will be possible. It's probably best if saved to once you hit the continent. But if things go well, there shouldn't be anything that you have to fight between now and then.
Well, that's good.
Maybe
All
roll
right.
a
Well, then
die for how well it's going to go. Ooh,
I'll hold
16.
off till then. I'll stick to any quiet crafting, I suppose. Whatever I can do to help out.
You can learn knitting.
Yeah, so by the way, we have a knitting circle with the incubus lady, and it's going really well.
People are knitting, the edgy, hostile people are off in a corner.
Drinking and
Is it edgy
reading
and
or
hostile?
sleeping.
I mean, I'm all for knitting. I'm trying to think. Wait a second. It's genius. I know what I can knit.
Ooh.
I can knit some insulation for my pipes so they don't freeze again.
There you
On
go.
the bits. It's
Do
perfect.
it.
Out of hemp skin.
With Schultz energy, he's just going to knit a 1-to-1 replica of his metal armor and then cry into it.
Now it's warm and functional.
And then after crying into it and getting it wet, he'll heat it up so it has steam.
It's perfect. But yeah, that's I'm willing to join in on the knitting. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea.
Okay. If there are stories left to be told in exchange, I will tell, like, the story of the coup for information on my brother.
Ooh.
I love knitting
Real
story
quick.
time.
Yep.
I'm just chiming in. Cade, when the incubus is not in the room, will politely ask that if they're going to barter for information, keep anything about the Azure Fox and out of the stories, and nothing in particular about the pirates' plans against the sea dragons, because
that's a
the
given.
woman is. Well, yeah, it's a given for you. It's not a given for everyone else. So Kate is going to politely ask that they omit that information, because clearly this woman is willing to sell information.
I think the only
So
person
therefore
you have
it's
to
best not
warn
to give
about
it.
that is Sindri.
Yeah, because Jasira specifically only told her side of her story of
Yeah.
the tentacle monster. Because she was like, yeah, I'm not going to bring other people into it.
Yep, no.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
not blaming. Kate will just politely make the request when the incubus is not in the room.
Yeah. No,
That's totally fair
I'm
game.
gonna need another get out of jail free card on the level of the one that I just bought.
Yeah.
Tip that hand. That's a
Yeah.
valuable fucking hand.
Okay. But with
You like that hand.
with all the nights that she's spending with us, if we do get into a situation, you can tell her, get us out of here and I'll tell you about Cade. I wouldn't recommend it, but
No, Cade might.
Yeah.
yeah, Cade might kill you, but we will survive, which is worth it.
Fair.
At that point, Cade will just yeet herself into the sea, and she'll find land eventually.
Or her actual mother.
Damn.
Let's not go down that road.
Cade, as you are looking through, there are bookshelves in here, and there's also a desk with some things on it. On the desk, you see some scrawlings, these images of various infernal creatures, devilish skulls, imps, and different demons and devils, all with kind of different scrawlings that you can kind of see nearby. But nothing that you really pick up on or can read, but they look like runes of some type. You also see a stack of 3 books, volume 1, 2, and 3 of Out of the Inferno, which is a tawdry series about a tiefling romance. And the bookshelf seems to be filled of various romance novels.
Okay, Cade will just pick a random one and go with it.
Found the Harlequin section.
She'll pick one with an interesting cover and just sit in a corner quietly.
And Roland, you said that you were exchanging the story of what for information on your brother?
The coup?
So we've told the tentacle story, we've told the prison break story. That leaves the coup is what she was interested in.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so over the nights, you eventually kind of relaying the details.
I'd add in the figures that I made out on the Red Ruin, and hand over descriptions of them, and not the fact that we murdered their ass and sank their ship. Hopefully, she'll be hunting for these people to try and get more information for a long time.
All right. But yeah, as she kind of listens and asks a few questions, but continues on. She does eventually kind of relay to you. Well, like I said, I don't know all that much about your brother, to be honest. We've been in some rooms together, some discussions together. He's mentioned your name and appearance in history a few times in anger, which is how I knew of you whenever I saw who you were through your nature. Anyway, your brother seems to have had a falling out with his family, as I'm sure you're now aware, and has taken some of the spurs to answer a call, as I understand it. This type of insurrection that the Sea Prince Ryger is putting together with his sea dragons He knew that the massive ships would have weaknesses and was searching for ways to address them. Individuals who wanted the pirates dead just as much as he did, such as other pirates which he branded privateers, somewhat including the Spurs and other pirate hunters from the area. The Spurs that traveled with your brother were there to act as a deterrent or part of a militaristic force, but your brother was introduced to some of the individuals that were in the room with Ryger, and seems to have taken a change of heart. Probably because of the nature of the Brightblade Festival, I would assume. It didn't paint the Spurs into positive of a light. I believe your sister, Dora, she even made an unexpected appearance, ending one of the champions. But they are now on way to Greentown to adjust arrangements. Now in service of another. Rather, this Lasav that seems to be organizing all of this business with the Carnelian Mercicord. They seem to not exactly like what's going on with the situations around Greentown and want to change things. So he is coming here to, I assume, shift allegiances to a new, I would say master, but I doubt he would take kindly to that.
Daughter. She's alive.
You thought her dead?
You know the vision you gave me.
I do not always see what others see. You saw what you were promised. Knowledge of your history in some regard. History that you weren't present for, rather.
Laura's alive.
She was when I saw her last. Though most of that was second-hand, as we were... Well, I was being rescued by you and Master Clyde there at the time.
I don't understand.
You know the Brightblade Festival, yes?
Yes.
Well, that was within the city, and while it was going on, Ryger thought it would be fun to have some of the Spurs stand in the annual historical reenactment. But as I'm sure you're aware of Borgia's Folly, the Spurs lost that battle heavily, and thus the Spurs that were volunteered were slaughtered and made a mockery of. Dora didn't take much kindly to that from what I've heard, and may have ended the champion who took down the ceremonial Borgia.
Good for her.
As far as I know, that's when the connection to Ryger fully dissolved. What would be my guess?
So she isn't with Eric.
She's here. She's on the boat now. Did you not see her come up with your brother?
You did not identify her in the descriptions.
She was not clearly visible. This is the first time you've been aware that that was her. You saw a female spur, but you were more distracted by the appearance of your brother. And it was a brief moment of her. Kind of thinking back,
So naughty sharp.
expanding out your perception. It certainly could have been. She was cloaked and you didn't get a good look at her face, but she seemed to be the right height.
Okay. How is... She spoiled Riker's big pageant. Well, Eric was working with him, but they're still side by side.
Like I said, I think Eric's agreement with Ryger ended at the same time. I would imagine that either he ended it to protect Thora, or that Thora was given permission as a way of putting a very emphatic end to the relationship.
Ah. I didn't think Eric had the intelligence to plan that sort of infiltration.
Not sure it was planned. I take it that knowledge is satisfactory.
It only created a dozen more questions, of which I am fearful of the price.
You all are so cautious. You are able to set terms as well. Decide what you're willing to offer, and I'll decide what it's worth. Anyway, that's all for me tonight.
I can tell you about Kate.
Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be docking on Green Tarn. I'll be gone for some time, and when I return, we can make our final journey. Sit tight, and I'll see you all in a couple days. With that,
Did you say everyone else was getting off?
Everyone outside of the sailing crew, yes.
No, that was back at the orgy.
What? Oh my.
when everyone else was getting off.
Yeah, no,
We were...
Leave it to Roland. He's familiar with the process.
He did when he did do the thing. But, so basically it'll just be us and the crew after Green Tarn.
Indeed.
Do we still need to stay in here at that point?
Most likely not. We'll see how it all plays out.
Good to know.
You having an itch to stretch your legs?
I'm like to stay fit. I would like to spar.
Well, if you need some cardio, let me know.
Not that knitting's not great.
Knitting works your fingers. I can give you an entire whole body workout.
And she'll work your fingers too.
Cade will chime in from the corner as she's reading a smut book. Jazira, she's propositioning you for sex if you're not picking up on the context clues.
I'll meditate on that.
Counterpoint, when else are you going to get the opportunity?
Lost my soul. 10 out of 10 is worth.
I mean, when you meet someone who can straight up suck the soul out of your body, I mean...
I mean,
Oh, you mean like-
Boko can do that too, and Jasira.
Yeah, and Jasira can do that. So what do you mean? Come on.
Mutual sucking, even better.
We're
Oh my
finding out
God.
that David's the type of person to smash Mizora.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
You didn't
She's
know
not-
that happens?
BRB reinstalling Baldur's Gate.
BRP. I'll meditate on that.
And if there's nothing else, she does take her leave of you all, departing as you have your final nights before hitting the Isle of Green Tarn in the morning.
Can I make a request?
Sure.
Can I do some sewing on this dragon leather pauldron?
Absolutely.
I just want to try to get it ready. Maybe that for any other alterations that could be made in the future.
Yeah, give me a tools check with intelligence.
Let's see here.
It should be the same regardless of what the tools are, right?
Mhm.
I
The whole time this conversation is going on, Boko is furiously like,
Hell yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll say that they can be finished up ahead of schedule. And you think within the early morning you can probably put the last touches of it and you'll have a finished product.
oh, just in time for us to get in a lot of trouble.
Oh.
Yeah.
After a couple days of reading and drinking, Kane will actually go talk to Sindri.
Okay.
Sindri, would you be willing to answer a few questions?
What? Is it about the devil creature?
No, I don't
Like
expect
it.
you to have answers to any of those questions. I was curious. What did you said that you had a father, right? Back at the giant village?
Yes. His name,
Did
which
he-
eludes me at the moment. But Sindri would know it. Damn it. I should have my entire background perfectly memorized, but I can't remember real people names.
Did you give him a name?
Yes. Obviously, why would I not give him a name?
Rock Giant
I
Daddy.
shouldn't be- Yes, that is. Actually, probably easier to look in the messages I've sent Austin than to look through my own shit.
I'll give you
Runar
20. Oh, okay.
is his name. Runar.
Feel sad you have my stuff more organized than I have my stuff, but it's fine.
I've got everything cataloged.
That's horrific.
Your life, your backstory, your very soul. For sucking.
Did your dad ever tell you where you came from?
What do you mean? I'm from the Underdark.
So,
In a town called Terra.
right.
Alright.
Your dad ever mention a mother, a magical portal, a rock fountain, like how you came into being?
What's a rock fountain?
I don't know. I'm just throwing things
You mean
out
like
there.
a lava fountain? I guess that's a rock fountain.
It's the story of the pebbles and the salamanders.
Are you sure your dad's your dad?
Yeah, he raised me. So
Oh, I
yes.
had just taken a drink. Oh, that hurt.
Biologically speaking.
Are you familiar with the process?
Cade's about to show you a smut book.
Maybe there was debate about that, but he never told me. My uncle made quips about it, but I cannot confirm or deny if they are true. Probably not how he quipped about it. That's not the point. Maybe.
Okay.
But I am a stone giant, so it makes sense. I mean, look at me. As you look down, I'm obviously a giant, so who else would be my father?
I mean, look at me. He squeaks.
I have never seen a stone giant before you, so I wouldn't know. Do you look like everyone else in your village?
I'm the shortest one in my village, but I'm also the youngest, so that would make sense.
Right. Okay. So your dad never mentioned anything about where you came from, and he just magically showed back up at your village with you, yes?
Yes, he went out doing trade. He was a trader. Not the trader as in betraying people, but the trader as selling things and buying things. Just so we're clear, he's a good guy. Yeah, he left and did stuff for a while and came back and had me.
But no mention of a mother.
I'm not 100% sure that stone giants don't pop out of stone, so I'm not sure if that's needed. You told me how you normal people reproduce previously, but you've never met one of a stone giant. I don't know how viable that is for me.
Do people court in your town? You know what? Never mind. I don't want to go down that road. Okay. Sidestepping that for a second. Your dad, is he magically inclined? Mention any deals?
Like with trading deals?
Like the kind of deals that the Incubus has been trying to make.
Propositioning people for sex?
Everybody stops knitting.
No.
I think Sidney could put that phrase together, let alone know what it means.
Why everybody stop knitting?
Deals of the more
I'm not that young. I'm 21. I think. I'm somewhere around 20. I don't have
Back
days,
when I
so
was
it's hard
20.
to keep track.
You're that young.
Not propositioning for sex. Deals of a more sinister nature for power or greed or anything really at this point.
Well, my town didn't really do personal wealth, and the only person that I guess has power was my uncle, the priest. So I don't know what he would be buying. Maybe a bigger rock? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think so.
Well, it was worth a shot.
I feel like you're trying to besmirch my father's image here. Not cool.
Not
Just saying.
deliberately, Sindri. I am just trying to piece together info, and you're the only other Genasi I know. So just trying to figure some things out.
Genasi, he's a
I
stone
still think
giant.
I am a stone giant blessed by the earth, which is why, even if stone giants don't pop out of the earth, I still might. So, think about that.
Think about that.
Just walking down a path, and then a rock shatters, and then bam! Sindri.
You do have a tendency to shatter rocks around you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm now looking at the chat.
I didn't know that was on the table.
No, it's fine.
Steel.
Yeah, you know what? No, you know what? Never mind. It's fine. I'm sure your father is lovely. Maybe I'll meet him someday.
And your mom is a sea witch? Right?
No one was there for that conversation. That was just
Oh.
Kate and the captain.
Never mind. I'm reading what is general knowledge.
That is not general knowledge.
Alright. Cool. What about your parents then? Since we're talking about parents.
Smooth.
Kate looks
Did you
down
have parents?
at the empty wine goblet, pours more wine, swirls it a bit. Apparently magic. We're gonna go with magic.
Were you born out of a puddle? Because that would leave evidence that I came from the rock.
A giant fucking storm and magic, as far as I can tell.
So chaotic.
One letter off from humans.
Okay.
For humans, it's a giant fucking stork and magic.
So what you're saying is it's more likely I was born in an earthquake. Interesting.
You know, honestly,
Broke of the rock.
at this point, it seems very likely. I don't know. Maybe there was a giant earthquake in the Underdark. You popped into existence and your dad's like, I'm not going to let this helpless little thing get slaughtered by creatures. I'll take it back and raise it.
Yeah. He is a nice person that would do that, so that makes sense. I don't know why he wouldn't tell me that I was born in an earthquake. That sounds like a really badass way to be born. I'm not gonna lie. From what you've told me, it seems to involve a lot of screaming normally, and I think earthquake is better.
I'm sure many women would agree. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and Kate just kind of takes another drink.
Anybody else
Ooh,
have
do
anything?
you have a dad?
What was that?
Do you have a dad?
Apparently not.
Yeah, that's so sad. I'm sorry.
You didn't have a
You can have
mom.
my glass of wine.
Lucius adopted a lot of kids. He can stand in.
Oh, they're orphanage.
I mean, you didn't really have a mom, so I mean,
Except for Mother Earth.
Yes, Gaia. My mother was Gaia.
Eberron, technically, but
You know, there's a difference between the Dwarven language and the Sylvan.
And the giant language. The giant language is Gaia.
Okay.
Translations.
Sindri will go back to messing with some runes that he's been fiddling with.
did anyone else have anything they wanted to complete before the pit stop was made?
So I have something after the pit stop when the room is finally empty.
When the room is
Or
empty?
not the room is empty, but the ship is empty
Oh, okay.
when the demon isn't in there and...
Okay. All right. Sounds
only
good.
I think Jasira will just say, sorry, this is like super quick. It's just since she doesn't need the full 8 hours, she'll probably spend some time pacing the room wherever she can, because I know people passed out will probably be a hindrance.
The 3-day hangover for Clyde.
He's hardly been
Yeah.
conscious.
Well, if he's doing so bad, she can always do a quick little hand of healing, it'll be good. In fact, now Jasira can cure poisoning.
Oh.
So it could be a bad day for him or a good day. We'll see what happens.
But
All
yeah,
of the
so,
above.
so you're
The more
just
people
All the above.
you just wanted to be pacing around in the mornings before people woke up?
Yeah, so essentially whenever everyone's resting, she'll probably just kind of pace, meditate, think about the information she has now, what she's seeking, trying to jumble all these pieces together with a little bit of, gee, I wonder what happened, with that snow and the melted, like in the wilderness whenever everyone else was fast asleep. I don't know. She's just, a lot of things she's pondering right now. It's been a while.
Towards the end of the trip, Roland will be just kind of like back sleeping on the ground, arms crossed across his chest, and without moving in the morning when he wakes up, he'll just say, "Do you pace like that every night?" And then open an eye and look at you.
No. There's a lot to consider, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Just curious.
Are you an observant one? I just gonna guess here.
He'll kind of slide the eye patch up a little bit to show the scarred eye that the eyelid can never quite close because the scar tissue is pulling it back. Just go, I always keep an eye open while I'm sleeping.
Well, there's...
Which also, incidentally, the eye patch allows him to remain alert while sleeping.
Cough. Well, just... If I'm around you when you're sleeping, help me keep an eye on me. There's just some gaps I'm starting to feel, but I don't know if it's anything to worry about, but there's some gaps in my memory as of late.
Well, you and Clyde will get along famously.
But I'm not drunk.
Don't tell him. I'll keep an eye out.
Thank you.
As the morning weaves on and the rest of you awaken, eventually you do see the signs of the city approaching. And there are these massive red stone towers that extend up from the harbor to this beautiful city that sparkles with specks of some sort of light reflecting. There are birds that fly overhead and this kind of turquoise green color to the roofs of many of the domed buildings that stretch up into the horizon. And it's early morning now as you arrive. But throughout the time that you had been traveling, the past day or so, and I guess the last 2 nights, you've been noticing these colors streaking across the sky, greens and purples and pinks, similar to what we see with the northern lights, but these reflective colors that are dancing across the skyline. And here, even in the mid-morning sun, there are shades of it that will occasionally cross by the sun and give shades of these colors that shine down like shadows in certain places. It makes for a beautiful sign.
And this is Green Tarn?
Yes, this is Green Tarn.
Okay.
And as the boat kind of docks up to the side, you hear the sound of the crew milling about and unloading, and kind of looking again out through the windows. You see as these individuals begin to depart off the ship, this time trying to get a closer look at some of the individuals. And very quickly, the first 2 kind of off are these individuals in this blackened cloak, or blackened clothes. Both of them have kind of short cropped black hair. One is a woman with this kind of white fur around her, and you can see various necklaces and rings and bracelets all in this beautiful gold, clearly of wealth, as she immediately begins to go off. And shortly following, not quite with the same elegance, but the same desire to get off, is this individual in the long black robe with the mechanical contraptions across his shoulders. Again, his hair is kind of this bowl cut, whereas the other woman's is very stylistic. And as he kind of stumbles off, he relieves himself over the side, and is certainly grateful to be back on stable ground. Boko, taking some interest in these contraptions, you can see that there's some sort of shoulder pads, these mechanical golden pieces that have some sort of pumps, and arcane magic seems to be flowing because you see different colorations coming from the front of it, with long pipes that lace across the back. The contraption is relatively small and localized to the shoulders, but the pipes extend down across most of the back and down towards his legs. And you can see that his hands are actually have tints of gold, like golden gloves across them. But they quickly make their way in towards the city. Kind of.
Was worried.
What was that?
You're good.
Oh, and then
You're
kind of.
Sam.
Oh, okay. Following after them, seeming to be part of their trio, but not quite with the same haste as the other 2, is the woman with this kind of white shirt. And black and gold, what looks like almost like a battle skirt, something that is intended for aesthetic but keeps the legs free so that she can move around. And she's in these tall black high heels with this long white and gold rifle over her shoulder. And you can see her smoking something as she kind of steps by. She has short kind of shoulder length platinum blonde hair. There's some more time that goes by. Some cargo begins to get unloaded. And eventually you do see the now trail of individuals after that. And Roland, you see the 2 Northmen. And indeed it is Eric. And beside him, you do see the visage of your sister, her hood now down, as the 2 of them walk. It is undeniable from here that it appears to be her. If you'd like, you can make an insight. The shining of the sun, you can see these bits of armor, and it does seem that they are covered in head to toe of this golden armor, but they keep this cloak over them. You see a single-minded purpose. They almost seem to float as they're coming down. They don't really address the beautiful woman that is calling to them or walking beside them, and drift. And they kind of take this blackened top hat and place it over their head as well, as they're stepping forward. You get a few glances, but don't make out much of any items or any type of weapons that you can see. But you do kind of sense just the aura of this individual. He is moving and moving with purpose. And top hatting those people. Yeah. You know.
Irrefutable.
Sometimes you can't deny it. But yes, as these individuals continue across. And Roland, you're kind of observing the man in the black cloak kind of passes, and it's after kind of the docks start to clear out that your brother and sister kind of make their way down the docks and into the city. Roland, is there any response that you have?
Just an icy glare.
Go ahead and give me a
This
perception.
Okay. Yeah, no, this isn't the time. He's at a severe disadvantage, and he's built his entire life around overcoming disadvantages.
Sindri or Cade, is there anything that you're doing?
Cade has moved on to the next smut novel. There's a small little growing stack next to her as she just kind of minds her own business.
All right, and Schultz, anything that you're doing?
Man, I still can't
Henry
do
is
anything
working on
crafting-wise.
his room still.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably at least take the time to plan out exactly how I'm gonna build this thing. Get the blueprints in place, just little things if I have a sort of writing implements.
Yeah, there are certainly writing implements in here. There's a desk.
Oh, good.
And so you can begin to sketch. And it's...
Hopefully I can expedite the process a little bit.
It's a few minutes that go by as you all are kind of moving through and kind of readjusting. When Roland, you kind of look around. Where's Boko and Jasira?
Fucking hell.
They took the devil on our offer. In the back room.
Oh.
That I would prefer. That process I'm familiar with and have no interest in joining. Did anyone see? Kate. I've never said this before in my life, but pull your nose out of that book. Did you see?
Cade's eyes flicker up.
You see where Boko and Jasira went?
I don't know. Did I see anything in this incredibly small room of people disappearing and the door opening?
Your nose was in the book, but you have tested out the extent of this space, and you know that door has been locked, and that you definitely would have noticed anyone coming in or out of the door.
No idea, but they didn't go in or out through the door. So I don't know how big are the portholes?
They're not portholes, they're actually windows. They're tinted windows across the back portion of this cabin.
Oh, we have full windows? Okay.
To make the alliteration pun though, how big are the portals?
Big enough to fit through.
I don't know. Maybe they went out the window.
I think we would have heard. I'm going to check the windows and see if they open, and if there's like an obvious like whoop.
Give me an
that could have been
investigation
concealed,
check.
Or yeah, thank you. They might open, they might not.
You kind of go over to the windows and giving it a look, just from what you can automatically see, they definitely could fit someone through. The one that you're looking at, it definitely hasn't been opened. You kind of lift it up and it does make a...
So the windows are capable of opening. Okay.
If the cats want to satiate their curiosity and get killed in the process, that's their prerogative.
You made a very clear point of the fact that they're the two that followed me when you advocated being pragmatic.
Okay, Roland, I'm gonna speak quite plainly here because I am at the fucking end of my rope. I started out this entire expedition going and chasing after a lie. I was going to go look for the man that was supposedly my father. A tentacle ship came crashing out of the fucking sky, wrecked my ship. I get picked up and enlisted to be a pirate for a different pirate crew, and forced to break out of a prison I never wanted to fucking lay eyes on. The entire system that I grew up and lived in was systematically dismantled and burned. I then attempted to escape all of that by going to the continent where the woman who said she was my mother wanted me to be. And then, you know, all of that happens, and then we tried to get on a fucking whale and get to the fucking continent where we all wanted to be. And then guess what happens? The magic pulls us back and we get stuck in the city that wants my fucking head. And while all that's happening, the Azure Fox is completely dismantled. The man that raised me from as long as I can remember and cared about me more than anyone in this world is dead. And I learn that the woman that claimed to be my mother is not my mother because I'm just a byproduct of fucking sea witch magic. And now I am randomly portaled onto a fucking ship by an incubus that you made a deal with. Do I fucking care that those two want to go find more information about their own lives? No, I don't. I want to find a nice, safe place, not on the water right now, and I want to drink, and I want to remember none of this. If I never touch the sea again, I will never be more happy. So no, do I care right now? I really fucking don't.
Why do you think I made one of the most logical and pragmatic people you know, made a deal with a devil to get you and your mother to safety?
Cade, she just kind of turns her face to the side, and at this point, there's just a couple tears down her face. Roland, you are a good man. Do not think that I am not grateful. My world has been destroyed, and I am sitting on the last raft And did you create the raft? Yes. Did you make a deal for it? Yes. Am I incredibly grateful that there's some piece of driftwood in which I can sit on and not drown? Yes. I am incredibly grateful. But my capacity to care is gone. I don't have any more to spare. It's tapped out. The well has run dry. If I feel one more thing, it's just... And Kay just kind of cuts off.
I understand the pragmatic value of not feeling at all. I don't fault you. I have never, in my entire life, from the moment I was born to the moment my brother took my eye, to the moment that I found out that as part of the... to the moment that I found out that he killed my father, I have never had anyone back me up the way that this group of people has.
Roland? And Cade will look up directly into your eyes. Well, eye. And there are tears coming down her face. If you want me to burn the fucking world, I will burn it. But that's all I can do right now, okay? I can't handle anything else. If you want me to burn something, I'll burn it all down if that'll make you feel better. But that's all I can do for you right now. Talk to me again in maybe a month when I'm a little bit more fucking put together and my world hasn't just come crumbling down. Because right now, all I've got is destruction. Do you want destruction? We can burn this place down. You want me to burn it down?
Hey. A day will come when I will. This is not that day. I am not asking you to care. I am not asking you to burn everything down. I am asking you to do the thing that I have advocated from the very fucking beginning, which is survive. Because a day will come when we will burn it all down. Survive.
Roland, I'm
And
surviving.
Help me help everyone survive. That's it.
How can you possibly help people that don't want to be helped? They are perfectly intelligent, independent thinking people. Why? How do you... What more can we do to impress upon them the seriousness of our situation? What else can we do? I thought it was perfectly clear what kind of situation we're in, and that we're on... This is a fucking gift handed on to us on a silver platter that you made a deal for. I thought by this point it was very clear. I'm not sure what else we can do to get them to understand what we have been given and stay put for a couple more days.
Right. You're right. My only counter, purely for the sake of logic and not for anything that I am also feeling about everyone taking the deal that I made and the price that I paid and pissing it into the wind, is that their lives are falling apart too, and their world has crashed and burned too.
You know, there are plenty of good books and a lot of booze. They could have just sat here quite peacefully.
They could have. But something was important enough to leave.
What do you want? What can I do? What do you think I can do to fix this? Because I'm not really quite sure what I can do to help at this point. Besides leave this room and possibly make the situation worse. Please, if you have an idea, tell me. I'll do it if it's sound, if it's logical, and it's not going to get me killed. You want me to hide you? I can make you small. I can make you stealthier. I can make you better at performing tasks. I could charm someone for you. I don't know. I could detect magic, I suppose. I could see if they're hiding right now in this room and just trying to play a very cruel prank on us. What do you want me to do?
That?
Yes.
I didn't. That's impressive. New options. I was just going to ask you to keep Sindri here because he's loud.
That I can do.
I would not turn down being better at, things.
Fine. And Cade just, like, comes up and gently touches your forehead and casts Enhance ability. Or actually, before that, she'll say, what do you want to be better at?
Everything.
Pick something a little more tangible.
Agile and unseen.
Fine. You want to have some cat's grace then? And Cade will come up and tap your forehead and cast Enhance ability and give you advantage on dexterity checks.
Just don't make me meow.
That'll be the Crimson
No.
Blade's job.
Please, just be careful. I don't need any more death. Do you understand me?
You and Sentry will make it to the mainland. The deal still holds.
It's not what I'm asking for.
What do you want, then?
Just come back alive, okay? I have my heart set on seeing that big, pretty library of yours, and I have a feeling I'm going to need an introduction.
Then I will promise you on my life that I will come back.
You have an hour before the spell runs out.
There we go. So as the two of you begin to move across, go ahead and both of you can make me your stealth checks at advantage. Boko, are you leaving these marks as you go, just recurringly, or was it just the first one to indicate direction?
Boko would have been convinced in his own mind that there is a chance that Roland would follow, so probably only the first one.
Okay.
Because thinking about it and being intelligent, he would not be offended at all if Roland did stay behind to save his skin. Yes. I will switch that off of the GM.
So the two of you begin kind of moving slowly down the docks. Boko sticking to the shadows of these weird lights from the sun, and Jasira completely invisible, moving behind, trying to keep in view. The Gilded Man is somewhat difficult to keep track of once it hits the shadows of the city, but luckily the bright red garb of Anne is considerably easier to track. And Roland, are you going by yourself, or are you taking the Schult or anyone else with you?
Oh, hell no.
What's that reaction supposed to be, huh?
I'm trying to be stealthy. Do you think that I'm going to take the loudest person in the party?
Technically,
With regards to what? I'm not wearing armor right now.
So, the Schult...
But you
That
talk.
can be loud.
Sindri clanks, the Schult talks, Clyde sings.
So the Schult,
Okay.
you are kind of left out of the loop and kind of look around at Cade and Sentry as Roland is climbing out the window.
I guess I'm just gonna look up. I guess I'll ask about that later. Just kind of assuming that Roland, I've learned, is a very smart man, and he probably wouldn't do anything that was like in my mind, stupid enough to go get him killed. So he's probably all right.
Okay, let's be honest. We're all in the same room. Unless you were deaf, you definitely heard Cade just trauma dump.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
I didn't know if we were in the same room. That's fair. That's
yeah, it's
fine.
all one room.
Perfect.
That's a
All
good
right, yeah,
point.
that's understandable then.
So you are perfectly aware of what's happening.
Not gonna touch that with a 20-foot pole.
Well, I don't feel like after hearing that, I don't think I could really offer anything to help console her. So no, I'm not gonna get in there for now.
Have you considered Steam?
No, that's a terrible idea. Look, man, I've literally built my whole career on having conversations with people, and I know when not to have one.
Does that give him advantage on every other conversation that he has from here on out? Because, like, that's the most important skill ever, is knowing when not.
So Roland, as you hop out of the window onto the decks, again, the decks are pretty clear. You can see the group of the people a little bit further in the distance, as you had been talking with Cade for a good bit, but you can just catch the group of the people, and the road pretty much goes one direction from here. All right. And so making your way through, doing the best you can, again, to stick to the shadows, you also follow this group of people trying to do some catching up. The path here leads over through these beautiful streets that are filled of this greenish blue, almost turquoise looking stone, and the paths are each gilded in what looks to be bronze or gold that just shines and gleams with the sun. And the more you get closer to this, the more you're seeing that glistening golden metal on lampposts and signs and walls and roofs, and there is just this gilded metal everywhere, and it glistens and shines through the streets.
Does it look like the armor on the Gilded Man?
Go and make me an investigation check as you're moving through.
Okay, not bad. 23.
It looks similar. At first glance, it would look relatively identical, but at least through your careful eye, Roland, you know that there's some sort of processing that the armor went through, whereas this looks more raw. But as far as you can tell, this looks like just gold. Just everywhere.
Boko, what butter are you spreading? Is there any piece of this looks to be gold that is loose and laying around that I could pick up?
I wouldn't say it's loose and laying around. Imagine as a building material. So it's on signposts and wrapped around things. So they're like, with some effort, you could easily get to it. But it's not just lying
hit
around.
A curb
no,
and chipped off a piece. Okay.
You should have brought Sindri.
Honestly,
he's the only other person that has experience dismantling large structures.
What
and taking
you're
them with
seeing
us.
right now is exquisite. There are few people here, but the area is just beautifully well kept, and so there would not be a broken piece. There would not be a chipped pebble. This place is expertly cared for, and expertly looked after, in all parts of that you can see. However, rather quickly, as you're following this group further into the city, the shadows get longer as the buildings overhead stretch up towards the sky, and it looks like you're going underneath a good portion of the city. And so as it gets darker within here, you start to see more and more people. There's still that consistent gold, but it's not as ever present as it is upon the surface of the city. And as you're headed down into this darkened area, you start to see light up ahead. But it's not just that warm or soft yellow light. You're seeing greens and reds and blues and purples and oranges. These flickers of lights, these shoots of color, as you all are kind of watching these various individuals. And Roland, you're still...
So have I joined up with Boko and Jasira at this point?
I was about to get to that. So you're still trying to catch up, and so you're still kind of racing after these group of people far in the lead, but you're gaining on them, getting closer when this kind of darkness hits and the shadows come over you, and it's very difficult to see at that distance, but you now see these shapes and lights and colors flickering on your vision. Jasira and Boko, you guys are much closer to this, keeping at just the right distance. You're starting to see more and more people now, and they are bright and colorful as well. You see, first off, a large number of tiefling population, but you see elves that don't look identifiable as race. Their skin dyed different colors, their heads shaved, their ears cut into different patterns. You see tieflings with horns that are etched and gilded and have different varying jewelry across them. You see dwarves with dyed beards in multiple vibrant colors. All of these individuals from all of these various races with bright, vivid appearances. And as you get closer and closer to these shadows and these lights, you're now starting to see these arcane looking lights that seem to be advertising various things, whether it's for magic or shops or events. You see these signs that are animated and moving with different animals or different textures, different words. You see these individuals moving around. There is a dim, dark, underground feel to this place, but it is vibrant and alive with unique personality. As you step through, you pass through initially what is a lit passage with these various lights across the ground and just all sorts of different calligraphy of all sorts across the walls. And it very quickly opens up into this area where they have all of these various arcane symbols that are just vivid and vibrant in movement across these patterns and advertisements, and it just erupts into a lively and vibrant marketplace, and it is immediately difficult to track these individuals, and you now realize that you have to move quickly to close the gap. And Roland, I would like for you to give me we'll say either a perception or a survival check here.
And here's where I'm really wishing I hadn't trained out survival for sea vehicles proficiency.
You do have your eye patch.
I do, but it's a 30-foot range. Oh, also excellent song choice.
I got you.
Oh, my perception is so good. I'm gonna do survival because that's more tracking.
Immediately getting arcane vibes.
The first thing he popped up was from Arcane, and this song is
Such a
from
good show.
Arcane.
Yep.
Yes.
Great show, great soundtrack.
Roland's vibe with the busted ass eye and the intelligence-based rogue is based off of Silco.
I kind of wondered.
Okay.
Not too bad, not too bad. As you're moving through, you kind of had tracked the position of the shadows right beforehand, and knowing the rough trajectory through this massive crowd, you're able to kind of ignore just falling directly after them and take a path through the crowd to try and catch up. As all of you are entering, you see again these arcane visages of advertisements. Things about how it's time to evolve. No god, but only man. Incinerate your foes. Take a devil's kiss. All of these different, vibrant advertisements, these stores, these individuals, it is alive. And for a moment, it's difficult to keep track. Boko and Jasira, I need you guys to make me a survival or perception check as well. You guys can make it at advantage, though.
Cool.
And both of you can make them. And so if you want to make different ones, it's up to each of you guys what you want to choose.
What you thinking, Boko?
I probably go survival, but it's a toss-up for me.
I have the same score for either, so I'll do perception then.
Oh, this is perfect.
19! What's up?
Yeah, y'all did much better.
So, Jasira, you keep a bead on that bright red dress that is kind of your token as it moves through. And you find that even despite seeing this, it's difficult to get a bead on that dark cloak. It just seems to blend into the shadows of this place here. And if it wasn't for her standing nearby, he'd be gone. He'd just be gone. Boko, you again find your way weaving through, but you also find your perception drawn to these various things, these different places. You can see these bright golden flowers. The lotus is watching. This white woman silhouette that just has the name Caldwin underneath. These various shops, you see bright signs that seem to point towards the break or towards let's see, what's the name? The Sinclair or the Gardens. These different directions across this massive sprawling area. And you do kind of track onto where you think these groups are, and you can now see that there's been some splitting that had to have occurred. Just observing and watching and seeing, you actually see the Northman that had walked off, the man in the massive white fur that's pretty distinct. He's off to the side with the woman there. You don't catch sight, but Jasira seems to be pushing you forward to where that red dress is. But you also catch another glimpse of white somewhere else, where that woman in the white shirt and white rifle is just kind of sitting, smoking something on one of the upper levels. It seems that this group has scattered to some degree, and you're only able to get bits and pieces of what's there outside of the main two that you had been following.
Gotcha. And then, which group did the man with the pipe or the prosthetic go?
He had been one of the first to leave. You had seen him closest to the woman with the white rifle, but you're not sure if they had stayed together or not.
So he's probably gone by now.
He could be.
That's fine.
Are you guys staying on track?
For right now, yeah. Until we decide we need to turn back to keep invisible, stealthy.
All right, sounds good. as you guys continue on, I would like for all three of you to roll me a d10.
This is how you split us up before.
I hope this is a table.
I really hope this is a table.
This. Okay, I'm with Jasira.
Hey!
Safe.
The invisible girl.
I stumble through a portal and go back to heaven. And you'll find it again.
Boko, your eyes catch this beautiful, vibrant little cafe that seems to have themes of cats and this bright neon green cat just moving almost lifelike across the front of the bar or tavern, whatever this is, and the title Meow or Never across the top. And
no.
Jasira, you're standing over off to another side, and you are just caught by this immense building that seems to stretch down the full length of what would be 2 or 3 streets. And you can see these large, what looks to be like a roulette wheel with different cards and games that are dancing across the front, and these large words of Pharaoh's fortune just blaring on. And Boko, you're Roland, you're kind of catching the sight as well as you're kind of moving across. And Jasir, you kind of turn and see very quickly moving, kind of blending in with the crowd. Or actually, no, maybe not. Roland, would you be in the visage of somebody else?
There's
I imagine you probably would be, because you're not invisible.
I have eyes on where my brother is.
We're gonna get to that in a second. So this would have been just as you're following.
When I was following him, I knew where he was. I knew he was ahead of me and marching forward.
Yeah.
I would rely on stealth and agility to keep me hidden from him, but I'm looking for Boko and Jasira, so they need to be able to recognize me.
Okay.
So I would either be me or Boko.
Okay. Well, regardless, I guess which one are you? You can flip a coin for it if you need to.
Are you Boko or Roko?
He's either Roko or Roland.
Either way.
Damn it.
Can't have the true prosthetics yet.
We can change that.
I think he's pissed off enough to be Roland.
All right, so you do in fact catch sight of Roland. Just here, it's just for a split second as he's moving through the crowd, but you do kind of catch sight of him nearby. Is there anything that you're doing?
She'll alert Boko from behind and just kind of pull in the direction that Roland is. Just tug at his shirt or something.
I think Jasira would have seen Boko make that shock mark too, so they probably would have anticipated Roland potentially being here.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just letting him know that hey, he's behind us, FYI. So whatever we do from there, whether he signals or something, but she's going to keep an eye trained on Anne and the Gilded Man.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of keeping an eye. They're getting further and further away. And so you don't have much time here, but Boko, go ahead and give me a perception check. And Roland, you kind of find some high ground nearby to give a gaze out. I need you to give me a perception check as well.
Okay.
I'm just happy to see Roland.
Oh.
I'm just happy to roll higher than
So
Boko.
Boko, you gaze and you don't see what Jasira is talking about. You don't see, it's so many lights, so many different personalities. If anybody was going to blend in, here's the place they would do it, but you can't catch sight of Roland. Roland, you pass by and look around, and you do catch the bright white, which is honestly right now is colored from pinks and greens and oranges, but you see the persona of Eric standing nearby.
I'm just going to slink into a shadow and observe.
Okay. Boko and Jasira.
While also keeping an eye out for Boko and Jasira still, since that's why I'm actually here, but I'm mildly distracted by Eric.
Boko and Jasira, you see as that red dress is getting further into the distance. What are you guys doing?
If it's kind of on Jasira's lead, she will try to make a mental note of roughly where Roland was, and then just keep chugging forward, try and keep up with them.
Okay. Jasira, I'll let you go ahead and make me a perception check as well.
Okay.
Okay. Jasira, you do catch just enough of that distinctive hat that Roland wears to see him just kind of hanging on the edge, well blended into the crowd, but enough for it to jump out as you're looking for him in the direction where you had seen him. But you see that red dress disappearing down the corridor. If there's anything you're going to do, it has to be quickly.
She might just say, Boko, raise your hand, and put it down after a couple seconds. Just like flag him.
Oh yeah, Boko would
Party.
not even question orders.
Brave.
Since this is getting a little bit more difficult, I think beneath that sort of cloak that he wears, he would stab that chimera and take the bonus action to hide it beneath his own flesh and take on a spirit that is a little bit more perceptive than himself.
All right. And Roland, you do kind of see this brief movement above the crowd and kind of catch the distinct visage of Boko.
The horned helmet.
Do you have the horned helmet on?
Absolutely. That's I have to take an action to put it on to use my new item. So.
Okay. So yeah, the distinctive visage, not one you were expecting, but one you have seen. And so you can catch it moving through this crowd away from you. With that perception, you do kind of looking one last time over at Eric. You can see it seems right now he's talking to this woman who almost appears to have this bluish skin and these golden chains that kind of lace around her wrists. It doesn't seem like she's wearing much else. Some thin black lingerie is all that's there as she's just speaking to Eric, who doesn't seem to be addressing her too much, but she's there, and your kind of eyes flick back to Boko for a moment. What are you doing?
How far away is Eric and Boko?
Boko is probably about 30 feet in front, like in one direction, and Eric is probably about 70, 80 feet in the other. You guys are in like a small little marketplace with like paths in all different directions and different levels.
This is a terrible idea.
This is exactly why you should do it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Boko first.
Okay. You kind of cut through the crowd and catch up to him.
Boko.
The deer skull turns towards you. And although it is very clearly stands out, it's very difficult to look at. It's almost like your brain doesn't want you to see it.
It honestly doesn't stand out here.
This is the one place in the whole campaign that it will not be like immediately.
There are all sorts of people with strange piercings and strange clothing. Like, you do not stand out at all.
Boko's supposed to be like traversing the path between life and death while he wears this cloak. But that's just normal here, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I found you. I need to do something really quick. Stay here. I'll be right back.
Boko grabs Roland by the shirt and he says, "There is no time. We will come back for you. Just do not get into any trouble without us, yes?"
Where are you going?
The Red Woman.
Which way?
And then just point. Kind of.
I'll find you. And he's going to head off at this point towards his brother.
Damn.
And as I'm just gonna try and play off of the superstitions of my upbringing.
And I will say, as you're turning back, this woman has gotten his attention and he's currently following her. And she seems to have left her dancing physique and is now just walking down the streets, and him and Thor are walking after her.
I am using cunning action dash to like weave through people and like my naturally faster movement through a crowd, knowing how to navigate that to be able to catch up to him. And I'm going to try and use my magical tinkering.
Okay.
To put on like a copper piece or whatever, something to like put in his pocket of let's see, whenever tapped by a creature, the object emits a recorded message that can be heard up to 10 feet away. You utter the message when you bestow this property on the object, and the recording can be no more than 6 seconds long. And using my feature of Master of Intrigue for Rogue Level 3, additionally, you can unerringly mimic the speech patterns and accent of a creature that you hear speak for at least 1 minute, enabling you to pass yourself off as a native speaker of a particular land, provided that you know the language. I'm going to unerringly mimic my father's voice.
Okay.
And just say, in a tone as if speaking from beyond the grave, "I know what you're doing." Put it onto the item, and then reverse pickpocket him, drop it into his pocket, and disappear into the crowd.
All right. Go ahead and roll me a sleight of hand check.
And here's where I die.
Come on, don't see it.
At advantage because of Cade's spell.
Yeah,
With
that's dexterity based.
With guidance and proficiency.
Hey, that's a good roll.
Nice.
As you reach into his pocket, you feel something there. And that is where we'll pick up next week.
What?